Hello and welcome to the True North Show. I'm your host, Megan North, and I'd like to thank our sponsors of the show, Quantum Awakening, Beth Lewis, Anne C. Clark, and our lovely guest who paid to be featured on this episode. So today I am joined by a woman who I instantly connected with when we first met, and I knew she would bring so much to this show, to the audience, and to me. Joanna Sharma is a seasoned digital marketing leader with 25 years of experience building data-driven strategies, campaigns, and systems for business growth. As founding director of Drum Digital, she has led a team specialising in CRM and automation platforms such as HubSpot and GoHighLevel, delivering streamlined customer journeys and measurable marketing ROI. Joanna's notable successes include doubling a Sydney law firm's monthly enquiries without increasing ad spend, reviving sales conversions for a solar company through automation, and leading a 5-year transformation for a power supply business, boosting product inquiries by over 50%. Renowned for her commitment to understanding clients' businesses and bridging diverse teams, Joanna is known for her strategic vision combined with hands-on execution. She thrives on solving complex digital challenges, turning scattered efforts into performance-driven engines for results. I was going to say energies. Now, Joanna is ready to bring her expertise client-side, seeking opportunities to lead and nurture high-performing teams, launch innovative platforms, and demonstrate to boards and stakeholders the full potential of digital marketing done right. So welcome to the show. I've really been looking forward for you to come onto the show and for us to have this conversation.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much for having me today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So let's talk about what you've been doing the last 25 years. So Drum Digital, first of all, where did the name come from, Drum Digital?
I liked the sort of visual. I mean, it has a bit of energy behind it, and the visual idea of like putting your message out and calling and getting attention, awareness. Also, it's that sort of musical vibe. I've always really loved music. So I thought it was you can drum up new business and use it in quite a few different capacities in a marketing sense. So there was a few different angles there.
Yeah, I love that. That's really cool. I like that. It feels like that, how do you, when you're saying that, it's almost like I can hear the rhythm in my head, that drumming, we're really getting some momentum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite active. There's a lot of movement with it.
Yeah, definitely. So what was the defining moment that led you to pursue your passion and purpose? What was happening for you at the time?
I think I was lucky in the fact that I did find my career quite early on. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I left high school, and I did quite a generic business degree. But then very quickly found that I loved the people side of that, and so gravitated to focusing on marketing, which was the area that I felt most closely aligned to understanding people, motivations. That's what I did my dissertation on, is why people buy things. I was really interested in more of the understanding people element of marketing. And I was on a 4-year sandwich course. So in my 3rd year, I was on a placement, and it was with a small startup tech business that was called CD Wow, and they were kind of very much innovative in the space and disrupting the music industry kind of around the time Amazon was starting. And I just loved this marriage of marketing and technology and innovation, and I was like, I found my home. I was just loved it.
Wow.
It was quite interesting actually, because it was an internship. They moved me around the business. So my first role was in customer service. I actually think that was probably such a useful, couple of months of experience doing that customer service role, where I just learned so much about the queries people had, challenges, how we overcome them. And that business particularly, that was a big part of their proposition, was excellent customer service. So I felt like I got a very good foundation on how you exceed expectations for customers. And I feel like that stayed with me forever. And it was just lucky I had that so early on. I think I just knew I always wanted to work in digital from that point on.
Wow. And it's really interesting because I could imagine at the moment too, with all the AI and everything that's coming through as well, is that what I'm finding, and I'm curious to understand your point of view as well, is that people still want human to human connection. They still want to understand who the person is behind who's selling the product, or why should they work, particularly coaches and those sort of people. I think that they still want to know who the human is.
Absolutely. I think that human connection is more important than ever because, collateral can be put together so easily using AI, and it's a great tool, but it can't in any way replace people, especially when you get into that more emotional connection, whether it's from the customer service you experience or if it's the strategy that's unique to your business. Like, you really do need a human element still that makes a real difference, I think.
Absolutely. And I would imagine too that when you were doing these couple of months from the customer service point of view, is that you would have, oh my gosh, I would imagine you would have had so many aha moments that you probably still use to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that I respond to customer queries, and even like, learning to manage like complaints or, customers that weren't happy, and how you can actually surprise them and delight them by going, don't worry, we'll fix this. And I feel like that customer service is, and any business that really embraces customer service is a big part of their proposition. I think that those ones really do stand out and lead the way. And I think it's so difficult. You often get like AI on the phone ringing you, and it's just not a great experience. But when you can get through quickly and talk to a human, and they can actually redress your problems quickly, like, I think we all remember those moments and go, oh gosh, that was so much easier than I was expecting it to be. And I think it really counts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think too is that one of the things that I've learned in my business is listening to people who I really trust, in the sense of getting their feedback. I've had over the last few years, like I've launched products or I've done something in my business and it just hasn't landed very well. And so I've asked the people that I've actually proposed it to give me honest feedback in relation to what it was. Because sometimes I think what I think people want in my head is not actually what people want.
Yeah, and I think that's right. It's a really big part of where we start doing any strategy for a client is with a customer journey. And in an ideal world, if budgets and resources were available, actually doing some research, like actually going out and talking to customers, doing what you're talking about there, and actually having those conversations and getting some qualitative and quantitative data. It's not always possible. We work with a range of clients from sort of small and medium, and they don't all have budgets to do things like that. So in absence of that, I think it's still really worthwhile doing an assumptive customer journey and trying to put yourself in the position of your customer and thinking, how does that customer currently find businesses like yours or the solution that you're offering? How are they currently getting that fix? And mapping that process out from when they realize they've got a problem to then investigating what the solution is, and then making a decision on what the solution is, mapping out the way that we think they might be doing this now and the kind of questions they might be asking, so that we can then, that basically becomes the strategy, so that we can make sure we're interrupting and being present with the right message at the right time for each stage of that customer journey.
Yeah, that's amazing. And when you were doing your 2 months, it's really stuck with me for some reason. I feel like I need to dive into it. Was there anything that someone said to you, or something that really stuck with you that you still refer back to even now, 25 years later?
From a customer perspective?
Yeah.
I think it was just I think probably the biggest thing was how people online can be quite angry. And we would get and this is 25 years ago. It's a long time ago. But even then we were still very comfortable in being quite firm and assertive on email. And I remember some of the emails and people were a bit concerned about, maybe they were new to the team and they were like, I don't know if I can handle this one. I'm a bit nervous. And they might have a chat to me, and I might say, oh, don't worry, I'll call them. And I'd call up, and the firmest, harshest, most unpleasant email that came, someone was very, very angry and livid. You pick up the phone, and it's the sweetest person on the end of the phone. And you think, wow, if we'd gone back to each other and matched, and not that we ever went into customer service, but, you know, I don't know if it would have ever really been fully resolved, but by picking up the phone, and this goes back to what you were saying earlier about human connection, by picking up the phone and actually having a conversation, this person was just lovely, a complete delight, and her experience of the brand was totally transformed because she got a phone call, she felt listened to, and she felt like somebody cared enough to pick up the phone and actually ring her. That I think that's probably a really strong lessons for life, you know, in any role and throughout my career. If I get a sort of spiky email,
I like that, a spiky email. That's good.
That was a bit. Don't reply, because I know I've seen it in teams that, you know, can spend a long time. They take up so much energy crafting this perfect response to address the concerns. I'm like, don't write the email, pick up the phone. Have a conversation, and 9 times out of 10, it's so much quicker to resolve the issue by actually having a conversation and talking to someone.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's interesting too, isn't it? Because you called that person, but they'd already vented because they got it all out in their email. So all of the sting, all the spikiness was in the email. Then when you get to speak to them, then they've kind of moved on, I suppose. And
I think people don't have that same. There's a disconnect through digital communications that if you're talking to a human to human, people, she was ready to go to war with somebody on email, but as soon as it was a person on the end of the phone and it becomes a human to human conversation, it was just totally different. You wouldn't have known it's the same person.
And when you said before that you were at, you're doing your sandwich year, what?
That might be a UK phrase. So we do, if there's a 4-year course, 3 of the years you're studying, and 1 year you go out and get a placement.
Oh, right. Okay. Right.
Sandwich is the meat in the sandwich is the year.
Okay. Right.
Do a bit of work for a year and then come back and do. So I mean, I guess it's great for things like business studies when so much of it's theory. That you then go and work a year in industry and then come back and tie it all together and go, remember that stuff we learned about teams and HR and, you know, profit and loss and all that sort of stuff, and put it all together into the final year of study, which just kind of embeds the practical element.
And when you were doing, so your first 2 years and then you did your sandwich year, did anything change for you? Like, were you thinking you were going to do one thing and then you ended up doing something else? Or was it really firm that it was like, no, this is what I'm doing?
I think before I did my placement, I had no idea what I would do. I really wasn't sure. Like, I thought I probably wanted to do marketing, but I wasn't too sure if that was definitely going to be it. But that placement year, because it was a tech company and it was digital, and I realized it was so much more fun than I'd ever expected. And I was like, I want to work in digital businesses. Like, this is, I love this.
So probably things came to you that you didn't realize that you really loved, like from a digital perspective as well.
Yeah, actually, it's the creation. Like, there really isn't anything you can't do. Like, we're selling CDs, and then got the CEO who's an entrepreneur who would be like, right, I think we're going to do DVDs now. And he's like, let's go and partner with this bank. And we'd go and have a conversation with this bank, and we'd whip up a little microsite that had their branding. And I was like, you can kind of create anything that's your imagination. So there really is not, and I've always loved that about digital. Like, there's nothing that you can't do. Everything's possible. It's obviously budgets and resources and probably the only things that kind of dictate what you can do, but really anything is possible. And I think that's what's so fun. You can create and be very creative and come up with new solutions and new different ways to do things.
Is that creative side something that you were aware of, like when you were growing up?
No, and I actually probably would never consider myself as particularly creative. I work with some excellent creatives in my team, but because I'm not necessarily artistic, but it is a different kind of creativity that I've probably even saying this now, I'm like, well, actually, maybe I am creative, but more creative in a strategic sense. And, looking at opportunities, that's probably where I am creative, less so design, where I have an excellent designer, and the reason I love working with my designer is because he's so good at that, and I don't have to worry about that piece.
Yeah. And so I suppose that creative, from a strategy point of view, is that you have a gift of being able to look outside the box and sort of think differently to how other people are coming to it, perhaps with tunnel vision.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just being able to connect the dots and then clear the path and go, okay, well, this is how it all works. Here's where the opportunity is based on our customer journey and what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it probably is like an innate ability that you can do for others, that you go, oh, look, I can really see that high level strategy and da da da. Are you like that with yourself personally?
Yes.
Oh, you are. Oh,
I am. My husband always jokes that he's a line item on my 5-year plan. He was just a line on a spreadsheet somewhere.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Everything's planned. There's been a plan for it all. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Isn't that interesting? Because sometimes we're really good to do those things for others, but then often when we're doing it for ourselves, we can get in our own way, right? Because we're too emotional or we can't really see the bigger picture. But wow, that's amazing if you can.
Yeah, I mean, I probably was like that more when I was younger. I think now I've got kids and a family, I'm probably like, yeah, it's probably is a little different now. But yeah, I've always liked to know where we're going.
Yeah.
If I don't have, I think I do still have, I love to have that plan, because I just feel like it's hard to make decisions if you don't know where the end point is. So, should we go on this holiday, for example? Not sure. What have we got coming up the next 5 years? Okay, so in the next 12 months, can we afford that holiday? Maybe not based on what we really want to do, which is the big picture goal. So, I feel like for decision making, it's good to have a plan.
Yeah, great. Wow, that's amazing. I love that. That is hilarious, what your husband said. Lucky that you've got a good sense of humour.
Yeah.
So because you're living your passion and your purpose, and you get so much joy out of what you do, and obviously you've created a team around your business to have the right people doing the right things. How do you maintain your own mental health and well-being as you're managing a team, and then managing yourself and your family? Have you got any tips or tricks that work for you that you could share with everyone?
Yeah, like I feel like it's been a real journey for me. Like I've always been quite an anxious person. Even as a kid, I had a lot of anxiety, and so she probably was quite good during my early part of my career. I don't know why, but when I had children, my anxiety shot up, and so looked at a few different other ways to manage that. I learned a lot about NLP and sort of matrix therapies to try and do some of that healing for myself, and I found that really, really effective. I think acupuncture is the other one. I don't know what it is about acupuncture, but when I have acupuncture, nothing makes me feel as relaxed. It gets me into this incredibly relaxed state. It's like nothing else. It's So I feel like if I'm feeling a little like I'm just getting a little bit too overstimulated, if I go and have acupuncture, it just settles my whole system down. So infrequently or semi-regularly, I would have my NLP coach and have some acupuncture. I feel like those two things. But on the day-to-day, making time for exercise. We've got 2 dogs, so I love getting out, and that's my little nature fix. So walk the dogs and just be in the park. I love that. It's a real highlight of my day.
Yeah.
And just trying not to overcommit. I feel like that's taken me quite many years now, into my 40s, to really start to. And my husband's a good influence for that. He always thinks I'm trying to do too much, and so I'm trying to organise less on our weekends so that we have more quiet time, which is quite new for me.
Yeah, particularly if you have experienced anxiety, particularly from a young age, as a child, then that you're used to being like that, and I think that that brings, oh my gosh, I've got to be busy, I've got to be doing this, I've got to be doing this, or I should, as my niece says, Arnie, Megan, are you sugaring all over yourself?
Mm.
Should be, should.
Yeah, that's it. If I had a spare bit of time, I'm like, right, I should be doing the garden, I should be doing this, and always never having. And I feel like I've really only in the last 4 or 5 years started to go, actually, I should be doing nothing but sitting down and reading a book for an hour in the garden on the weekend, and that's enough, and that's okay. I don't feel guilty about that.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, how we have that guilt and that how we've really got to work on that. Doing nothing is actually really good for us.
Yeah, it's been a long time to get to this point. Yeah, as a sort of turbo bunny that doesn't stop, like learning to stop has been challenging, but worth it.
Yeah. And I love that you've shared with us, how acupuncture really works for you, because I think that one of the things that I'm always loving to explore on this show is what works for people, because not everything is for everyone. People that say, oh my gosh, I feel really overwhelmed if I had to sit for an hour and meditate and then go to the gym and do this, this, and this. And I'm always advising people, find what you really enjoy. If you're sitting in the sun on a park bench reading a book for half an hour, do it.
Yeah.
If that's what really helps you, then don't think of like what everyone else is telling you on social media you should be. Find what works for you. So it's really great that you found particularly acupuncture that has really helped you.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried meditation, and I do feel like when I've done it, it has been good. I do find it hard to force myself to be disciplined with it, and sometimes it can make me feel more anxious if I'm just stopping doing nothing. It feels so jarring from my everyday that prefer the idea of being more active, like whether it's yoga or walking and just quietly and contemplative. But for some reason, acupuncture, as soon as those I'm needle phobic, so I hate the process. So I'm like, oh my God, let's just get it done. As soon as they go in, I'm like, oh, it's like nothing else I've ever experienced. I just get in such a relaxed state, and I'm like, that's why it's worth it.
Wow. And that's so interesting that you even had the courage to give it a go, considering that you've got a phobia about needles.
I know. Well, it all started years ago. I had a horrendous toothache, and when you're in so much pain that painkillers don't work. And I remember, I can't remember why I tried this, but I was working in the city and I went to sort of alternative Chinese medicine, and they just did one thing, and just one needle or something, and the pain just went away. And I thought, wow, there's something in this. And I always had a bit of an open mind to alternative therapies. When I was 14, I had an ovarian cyst that had become quite large, and it was like pushing on the other organs. It was really painful. And I was booked in for a surgery to have, the whole thing removed. And, doctors were like, it is what it is. You're just going to have to get it taken out. And then my mum took me to a reflexologist at the time. I've never seen one since. I'm not sure why, but and she said, get somebody to rub your ankle, which was representing of your ovaries, every night. And then I went for my pre-scan, and it had gone.
It's gone.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, well, there's got to be something in this. So I was always a bit open to trying something that might be different, seeing what works. And I had that horrendous pain, and it worked. So I thought, well, I might just. It was when I was trying to overcome some of, anxiety at a stress point. I was like, wow, this acupuncture, there's something in that really calms me down.
Yeah. And, the reflexology, maybe all you needed it ever for was just that one moment in your life,
Yeah.
So, and you just needed to have it then, and then it was done for you. Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? And I think that that's also another thing too, is that with all the different modalities these days as well, it's about trying it. And if it works for you, great. And if it doesn't, don't make it a stress, like go and try something else.
Yeah. And I think at different life stages, perhaps there are different things. Like I had a real yoga phase when I didn't have children. I had more time on my hands. I used to do the hot yoga, the Bikram, loved that. I just don't know how I'd managed to squeeze that in now. And so, it's what works for you at the moment. And at the moment, I feel like it's less about stress, but more about evolving and, becoming the better version of myself, and working through some of the with NLP coach, and my chiropractor. I'm not quite sure what he is, but he does some sort of neuro something, and he's incredible too. So
okay. Wow, good.
yes, it's I feel like there's always a bit to unravel, but the more unraveling you do, the more loose threads you find, and so it's almost takes some time.
Yeah, and it's a constant thing, isn't it? It's like, and I also think too, for you, because you lead a team, I think it's really important that you're looking after yourself holistically as well, because you're the leader, they look up to you, and so it's good leaders walk the talk.
Yeah. My mum, in fact, my whole family, we're all built as hard workers, and I feel like that is in our blood, and that we will push ourselves to the point where it is unhealthy. And I know that that's quite a strong family trait. And I've looked at my mum and my older sister, and they have worked themselves so hard that they've brought on ill health.
Right.
And so I've kind of gone, well, if I've got to take a lesson here, and I've really very consciously tried to put more boundaries in place so that I don't push myself quite so hard, and bring about more balance in my life. And there was an opportunity that came up a few weeks ago that was going to be, it was a significant opportunity. It was going to be quite a significant life adjustment to manage it. And I thought long and hard about it. There was so much that sounded great about it. And I think 10 years ago, I'd have absolutely jumped and gone, nah, doesn't matter what the impact is, I will make this work, because I'm so driven by slightly different things. Whereas now it's like, well, what kind of lifestyle do I want? What's that whole makeup? What's really important for me? What do I want, as opposed to what's going to make the most money, or support the family? And I was like, well, actually, I don't think for me that would be healthy. So made what was a slightly, to me, surprising decision to decline the opportunity, because normally I would not have done that. But I feel like that's just as I've got older and realized that it is about balance, and your health and your family play a really important role in your career and your life, and you can be a better version of yourself for your clients and professionally by having that balance.
Absolutely. And I don't know whether you know this from a healing perspective, but the work that we do, and I'm talking feminine because we're both women, but the work that we do actually has a healing effect for 7 generations previous and 7 generations ahead. So the work that you're doing is actually healing your mum, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, all of that ancestry, but it's also then helping the women that come, like if you've got daughters or if you've got nieces and that sort of thing, it's actually you're doing the healing for them moving forward as well.
Excellent.
It is. It's really great. Yeah, because my mum has passed, and I hear both my parents have passed away, but I hear my mum all the time, and she often celebrates me for doing the work that she couldn't do while she was here. Yeah. And so the more work I do on myself, the more I love that, because I know that I'm just doing so much for her and the previous generations. But then I don't have children, but I've got lots of nieces and great nieces, and I've got a sister, and all of that sort of thing. So it's actually, for me, it even becomes more meaningful, because I'm not just doing it for me. I'm actually doing it for past and present and future generations as well. So
I love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so just need to take a little short break just to hear from our sponsors. And when we come back, I'd love to dive into a little thing that you had in your bio about looking at something a little bit different and maneuvering your true north path. So we'll hear from the sponsors, and then we'll talk about that. We'll be back soon.
Great.
Welcome back to the show. Welcome back, Jo. So one of my usual questions about now is, has your path to pursuing your passion and purpose evolved over time? But given that you've mentioned in your bio that you're now ready to make a little bit of a sidestep and something different, can you describe what happened, like when you realised that you wanted to make a bit of a change in the career direction?
Yeah, so I've always worked client side. So from those early days, I was the marketing assistant, marketing manager, head of marketing, head of digital, and that's sort of always been my career path from early on in my career. And then 10 and a half years ago, I went out on my own and started my agency, which was a very steep learning curve because I didn't actually have any agency experience. I'd worked as a marketer, but not as an agency owner or even worked in an agency. So I relied on peers and colleagues and mentors and partners to support that growth. So that first year or two, understanding pricing and scopes of work, like just all the things that I needed to be more refined with. And so, and that's been working really well for the last 10 years. But I guess when I've been looking back at what do I really love, what's my positioning and what's my area of focus, I feel like my skill set hasn't changed. My skills have evolved, but my focus hasn't necessarily changed a huge amount since when I was client side. And I still take that approach with clients where I put myself deeply into their business, understanding the whole inner workings and the customer journey to formulate a strategy and then connect the dots across all the different areas of marketing. And as a strategist, you in an agency, you kind of can be involved with a part of it, where I'm looking at making a bit more of a transition to more of a CMO or virtual head of marketing role, where I'm still taking that holistic view of the business and we're looking at all of the different elements that need to be considered and then working with my team to deliver it, but just positioning it in a slightly different way, that we're not just sort of an outsourced function of Facebook ads and this bit here. It's actually overseeing the marketing strategy and overseeing the delivery of that on behalf of a client. So we work mainly with B2B businesses. So perhaps those businesses that are growing and they're in their a growth stage, but they don't necessarily want to hire an entire marketing team. They're not quite ready for that. But, hiring, a part-time version of me, you kind of get a developer, a strategist, a graphic designer, a producer, ad specialist. You kind of get the functions and the skills of an entire marketing team with me heading it up as your outsourced marketing team that's coordinating it on behalf of businesses. So you're getting multiple skills for a value that they would not necessarily be able to afford if they were to hire 6 or 7 headcount or even just me full time. They're able to get all of those skills and skills together, and it's more of that kind of virtual marketing team.
And so was there something that triggered this little change in your direction? Is it evolution? Is it just you changing as a person?
probably just reflecting on how I add the most value. And I think sometimes when I'm talking to people, trying to explain exactly what it is that I do, especially with people that aren't necessarily marketers or it's not their background, sometimes it can be a bit confusing, and it's like, well, which bit are you the developer, are you the ad specialist, or which one are you? And I feel like this kind of is more of a succinct, and I think there's definitely a shift in the market to be moving towards this as well. So there's the term fractionals being used a lot more, which is that whole kind of outsourced solution where you don't necessarily have a full-time headcount, but you've got somebody providing those services for a number of hours each month. And I feel like that's a bit of a growing acceptance in the marketplace, that this is an alternative, a viable alternative to actually hiring headcount, especially in a discipline like marketing, which is so multifaceted. Like this, your SEO person is not going to be your graphic designer, is not going to be your social media person. Like there's so many different skills. And if you could have access to all of those skills via one person at a reduced, rate, then it would kind of get a whole team. That's a good proposition.
And so how does that go when you are usually very planned and you're quite firm on what the future looks like and what are the line items in your Excel spreadsheet? So is this something that then you get an idea and it sort of floats around in your mind and you've slowly got to create it, or is it like a quick switch? How does it work for you that way?
I think it's a bit of a quick switch. It's just a change in how my language and my presentation around my website and social posts and how I'm communicating with people, and just when we're doing our own marketing and our outreach, repositioning that, the messaging there to be a bit clearer around that, and who we're going, who we're sort of wanting to talk to, what kind of size organizations, and why it's a really good fit for them, which I think it works. It's a really nice marriage between those kind of growth businesses that are still, still in their growth phase, to be able to tap into that.
And I suppose too, you've kind of got the inside scoop, right? Because you can see what's happening from a marketing point of view, and because you love to connect with the people and then listen and sit back and sort of review what is being needed, then you are able to make that change quite quickly because you can see this is where the market is going or this is what's needed.
Yes, I think so. I think it's a good solution for the right kind of business. And I feel like there's more awareness and understanding that this is a solution that is available now. And hiring people, costs a lot of money these days in Australia. So I feel like it's a strong alternative.
Fantastic. And so, do you think there's going to be any challenges or personal growth that you're going to anticipate through this next phase of this change?
I think for this change, less so, because I don't feel like it's a huge jump from what I was doing. It's more of a positioning and a messaging change, and I think in some ways it's simpler. We're a virtual marketing team that you can just plug and play. So I feel like in that sense, it still works quite well. I think that as the market is sort of making a bit of a shift in this direction, we're just sort of going to be riding a wave there. So I think it should be good.
Yeah. And what type of leader are you, in the sense of, obviously you walk the talk, but are you open with your team? Are you one to really talk things through with them, or do you like to get things clearer in your head first before you talk to the team?
I feel like we are quite collaborative. And I probably am the one that's going, we need to do this, we need to do that. And then we would have a chat and talk about what that one might look like and how that might be delivered. But yeah, I feel like it is quite collaborative. Like, if there's, especially because we've got a bit of a broad team with different expertise, like each team member brings their own wealth of experience, kind of call it like grown-up marketers. Like everyone's been doing it a while and knows their discipline really well, which is why it's a strong team that can be relied on for their various expertise. And so, yeah, there's a lot of skill and experience that I do lean on from within the team as well around, I'm floating this idea. What do you think? How do you think it will go? And yeah.
No, that's good. I love that. And so we talked about mental health and well-being and how you look after your own mental health and well-being. Is that something then that with the people that you work with, you're always checking in and making sure that they're doing things for themselves as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Making sure that, one of my team members is in the Philippines in Cebu, and there was a big earthquake a couple of weeks ago, and, their family was impacted, and she knows of people who lost their lives. And so, it's quite serious. So looking at how to support her and any of her family and what she needed, and, obviously gave her the time she needed to, return to her, I think where the epicenter was on her ancestral home. So giving her time to go back to her home and just connect with her family and navigate that.
Yeah, wow. Oh, that's really sad. I'm sorry to hear that. That's really tough. Something that it's difficult for us to understand, isn't it, or to be able to relate to, because we don't really have those many that sort of.
No, but interestingly, I was asking her about that, and she was saying they actually haven't. I mean, I know other places around them have, but Cebu in particular hadn't been hit with anything like that in some time. So it's not something they're prepared for or had any anticipation for. And there's been a number of aftershocks in the weeks since. So yeah, I think everyone's quite stressed and anxious to know what's. There's a lot of instability there at the moment with literally with the ground, but it's not something they're used to in any way. I think it came as a real shock.
Gosh. So when you've got a lot going on, and in particular, you were talking about this potential opportunity that you really had to take a lot of time to think of and sort of think through. So we talked about mental health before, but do you have any practices or rituals that you bring into your day that help you stay grounded, so that if you feel like your brain is getting really high level and strategic, that sometimes you need to just bring yourself back to earth? Is there anything that you do particularly to sort of feel like you're back in the room, or that your feet are on the floor?
I mean, I think with that one, and you sort of touched on earlier, Megan, when you're talking about when sometimes it's hard to make your own. I feel like when it's our own things, it is a bit harder. And I feel like sometimes it's not necessarily planning. I find it easy to do the planning, but the decision making in the moment sometimes can be challenging. And this one particularly, where it was going to be quite a shift in direction, and it would have been a project that would have been all-consuming, quite probably almost lots of days, and it would have been a lot. And I feel like that one, because 10 years ago I would have jumped at it, and I was like really trying to think about what's right for me, what's right for my family. So I was really going around in circles a bit with that one. So I felt like talking to people was the best way I navigated through that, like chatting to friends, chatting to colleagues, chatting to mentors, and trying to work out, this is what this opportunity looks like. What do you think? Yes, it's excellent for the bottom line, but is it right for me? And I think just weighing up what was really important. I love my career, but I'd also love what flexibility it gives me and for my family. And, I'm a parent of two neurodiverse kids, one more so than the other. And so it is quite volatile sometimes. And so I love the fact that if things are ever challenging, or, I get a phone call from the school, because that happens a lot, that I can be there at the drop of a hat if need be.
Yeah. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that makes a lot of people finally make that decision of stepping into doing their own thing and following their passion and purpose, because you can manage your own diary, take holidays when you want to, all of those sort of things that I think that it gives us that huge amount of flexibility, doesn't it?
It does. And I think I probably hadn't quite sat down and thought about and appreciated quite how much. And then when there was opportunity was going to mean things changing, I was like, oh, actually, this is kind of critical for me at this stage in our lives. So,
interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And so, if you've obviously got a wonderful inner circle, which I think is really important also as business owners. I think that to have people who we can really trust, but people that are going to challenge us and that sort of thing, I think is really important. But if you had someone come to you and say, I'm going to go out on my own, this is a really big decision, I don't know what to do, what advice would you give them? Like, what's one thing that you think you could advise them that would really help them to make that decision?
I think it would be, don't do it lightly. I think when I first went out on my own, I just thought I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to have all this freedom and control. And actually, because especially when you're in that startup phase, you want to do an excellent job. Like, I always want to do an excellent job, but you want to try and please and deliver for clients. And because it's your business and they're your clients and you want to serve that audience, you actually probably have less time. And if somebody wants something completely unrealistic, you're like, yes, I'll do it. Because it was my business. And so I actually probably found quite the opposite was true. I still is sometimes. Like, if somebody needs something, then it doesn't matter if I'm doing something else, I need to make that happen. We've got a bit of an infrastructure in place now which just has supported that, and I guess that's probably something that was quite key early on when I started my business. The same year I had my first child, so I had 2 babies at once.
Oh wow.
Like, oh, I know what I'll do when I'm on leave.
Oh yes. Because I'll have all the time in the world.
That didn't happen. And then I had my second daughter 14 months later, which was so those first few years were kind of carnage because the business was growing, but I always had to obviously had these 2 babies, so getting help was probably a key part of that. So I suppose my point is really just being aware that you don't necessarily have as much freedom as you think, because you need to be meeting clients' needs and expectations and delivering, but also being open to help. Like, I'm a bit of I've got this, don't worry, I'll do it all on my own. And I think that it's just sometimes just too much. So, creating systems and support networks, whether it's through work. So I'm sort of set up my business so that I had a team that was able to, if I had to do something, that they were able to pick things up and move it along. It wasn't totally dependent on me. And that saw me quite well through, the next 10 years, because that infrastructure was in place. It was not solely dependent on me. And I think that was an important decision early on. And also getting, accepting other help. We had, for that first year, we had a lady that would come in the afternoon and prepare the dinner and take my toddler to an outing while the newborn was asleep, and I could do some work. And I don't know if we would have eaten if she hadn't been there. So it was just good. It was good. So I think just accepting help when it's offered, and asking for help when you need it.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. And I think the other thing is that how I would answer that too is, don't expect that everything is like, it's not going to be an incredible business and you're going to be making millions within the first couple of weeks, because it's unrealistic. You've got to you've got to be patient, put the time in as well.
Yeah.
But I love that. That's really good. Thank you for that. So can you believe that we've actually only got a couple of minutes left? So I'm going to ask you the same question that I ask all of my guests before we finish our conversation. So, Jo, What is one lesson or truth that you've learned on your journey that you wish you had known earlier?
I think for me, and it's probably been a bit of a reflection for what we've already talked about, but, early on for me, the success was, landing the big clients, the big transformational projects, the results for clients and the delivery. And that still is a really important factor. But I think as I've got older and been doing this a while, I feel like there's a real balance needed around your own mental health and well-being, and making sure that those things aren't at odds with each other. And I'm lucky that some of my clients are all of my clients are amazing, but the people that I work with on a regular basis actually really like them as humans, and I feel like that really helps, because I want to help and serve and make life better. And I feel like it's not necessarily, the focus isn't like a business. It's more like I've learned that I really enjoy helping and making an impact and making a difference, and that's actually doesn't so much feel like work then. It's more like actually tapping into your skills or your values and what's meaning something to you. That means you can actually do what you do for work, but it's not work, it's not business, it's not transactional, it's actually doing something that you love, and you can really enjoy that and get a lot out of it.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really beautiful. And it just ties in beautifully to everything that we've spoken about today. So thank you. It's really lovely. Yeah. So thank you so much for this incredible conversation. I knew it would be amazing. I'm so grateful for everything that you've shared today, and I have no doubt that there'll be a lot of people inspired by what we've spoken about today. So thank you.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. And I'd also like to thank all of our amazing and dedicated audience, our supporters and sponsors, and I hope that you all have an amazing week, and I'll see you all again next week. Thanks again, Jo.
Thanks, Megan.